Feels like a big weight has been lifted off my back. What now? What can they say now? They want to say something else? I'll prove them on next time.
Yeah, they thought it was going to last. He's a 2th division.
And I'm glad Tevin made it out. I love you, Tevin.
He's a 2th division. If we do that to 2th division world champion, what's next? We want Shakur. We want that belt. Shakur would get knocked out just as easy. That's the funny part. They fight similar. They fight similar. Shakur would get knocked out in the first round too. Shakur knows that.
And
Shakur knows that.
So it's personal with Shakur though. So
yeah, we can stay off of that, but we know it's personal. So Shakur would get done worse. So and I'm not bugging. Tell people to think I'm crazy on that one and have Shakur send a contract. And that ain't clickbait or nothing. We want the Shakur fight. Nobody ducked that fight.
You notice that it's Senior that keeps bringing the focus back over to Shakur Stevenson in pursuit of redemption, trying to save face for his son when it's not even necessary. After that first round, highlight reel knockout of Fevin Tarmer in a fight that a lot of people thought he would struggle in, you don't need to keep bringing up Shakur. You're doing your son a disservice by doing so. You're reminding people that under whatever circumstances, Floyd withdrew from the fight. For whatever reason. A mysterious illness that we still don't know what it was, but whatever it was, it didn't last very long, since according to Floyd Schofield Sr., Jr. was back in the gym that following Monday.
Mediocre!
Somewhat impressive that he knocked out Tevin Farmer the way that he did. Where it becomes mediocre is they're jumping off a cliff over it. You think that because you knocked out Tevin Farmer in one round, who was coming off of wars with Raymond Muratalla and William Zepeda, all in fights that he lost, 3 consecutive losses in total.
Mediocre!
Now Floyd Schofield Sr. wants to go rocking the boat, bringing the attention back to Shakur Stevenson, and be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. If Shakur wins the William Zepeda fight, and I'm starting to think that he's going to, there's not a lot to stop Turkey from making you yet another offer to fight that same fighter. And what will the excuse be then? When that fight initially became a talking point, if you were following this channel at the time, you'll know that I was never convinced it would go down. I was never convinced it would happen because for Floyd Schofield, it was just counterintuitive. Here you had a kid, never even fought a former world champion. He's gonna go from fighting club fighters, gatekeepers, and journeymen to boxing Shakur Stevenson. Then why did they volunteer? Why did they call him out? Because American fighters these days are far too talkative. They figured that they could call him out and mention his name on their social media, in podcasts and interviews, and that would go on for weeks. That would go on for months, because that's what American fighters are used to. They didn't figure that Turkey would put together the fight as fast as he did, because that's not how things happen in America. They were clout chasing. They offered to stand in for William Zepeda, who had withdrawn, not figuring that the fight would actually get made and that they would get put on the spot. So that when they were put on the spot, they bailed. They found a way out, an excuse. Oh, Floyd has been poisoned. Floyd is sick.
Floyd Sr.'s full of shit.
Full of it and full of himself, you can tell. He loves hearing the sound of his own voice, loves hearing himself talk the way he's writing checks that his son's ass can't cash. Or you guys want Shakur Stevenson? Well, I see no reason that fight shouldn't happen if Shakur beats William. If Shakur beats William, you can move right into that fight. if that's what you really want. You know it isn't. It's good. It's good that Floyd knocked out Tevin the way that he did. But what are you telling yourself? That because you knocked out Tevin Farmer, you're gonna do that to Shakur? They don't fight the same way. They don't fight alike. Tevin Farmer spends a lot of the time mid-range to inside, whereas Shakur characteristically likes to box from the outside. Tevin Farmer opens up a lot more than Shakur Stevenson, tries 4 more punches than Shakur Stevenson, to his detriment. He's open a lot more than Shakur, whereas Shakur is more economic and more reserved with his output. The opening to land that overhand right that you had with Tevin, you wouldn't have with Shakur. I'm not a fan of pure boxers, far from it, but you gotta call a spade a spade. Defensively, Shakur is miles ahead of a Tevin Farmer. Schofields need to stop lying to themselves.
Your Excellency, I would like to thank you for presenting this fight. Come November, I will knock that boy Devin Haney out in Riyadh season. I'm happy to meet you, and let's make this thing happen.
It's all looking very good for the Heaven Daney versus Brian Gore-Tex fight. Dan Canastota of CompuBox said Devin Haney will fight anyone, and you have to respect that. Turkey LL Sheik said the same. Twitter user that goes by Bare Minimum Boy echoed that sentiment. Some fighters run from the smoke, others run towards it, in reference to Devin. A newfound respect for young Devin? Newfound to some, perhaps a rediscovery for others. Congratulations are in order, as Turkey LL Sheik took to his social media and stated, "Thank you, Bob Arum and Top Rank, for working with us and Riyadh season to deliver their champion, Brian Gore-Tex, in a title defense versus Devin Haney in November. More to come with Top Rank." Everyone is in good spirits. The Bob father himself took to his social media and stated,
"We look forward to working with our friend, His Excellency, Turkey LL Sheik, as the best welterweight in the world. Brian Norman Jr. defends his WBO title this November in Riyadh against track star Devin Haney."
As stated, in spite of Top Rank's nebulous broadcast situation where we still need answers, this partnership with Turkey affords Bob the chance to keep his fighters active and fighting while they sort that out.
It's smart business.
So as you can imagine, young Heaven Daney didn't like Bob's track star comment one bit, saying, shouldn't this guy be worried about the fact he blew $90 million from ESPN and now has no TV deal? Shouldn't you be worried that you just played hide and seek for 36 minutes against the shot to shit Jose Ramirez, and now you're fighting Brian? And as you can imagine, it wasn't long before Bill, Devin's father, threw his 2 cents in, saying, LOL, Bob is senile, running his mouth and forgot he's no longer in charge. Devin Haney ran to give Brian Norman the biggest fight of his career, while ESPN ran away from doing business with Top Rank. Is ESPN the real track star, running from Bob and his smoke and mirrors? Veteran boxing scribe Ernesto Amador threw his 2 cents in, what Bill said, and he said, the most disrespectful man in boxing is you, Bill Haney. Not even in your dreams you could achieve what Bob Arum has achieved already.
Ernesto is right.
Even if you can appreciate that Devin Haney has taken on this fight, it doesn't change that him and his father are a couple of wannabes. He's a wannabe Mayweather, and his father is a wannabe businessman, a wannabe pimp, a guy who presents himself as somebody who's in charge, but he's no more than an employee.
Is he really the one who made this happen?
Or did it happen because the Haneys don't have much of a choice? Ryan is out, Teofimo doesn't want you, Rolly doesn't either.
What were you gonna do if you didn't fight Brian? Sit out the rest of the year? Not make any money, but continue to buy ugly clothes and ugly shoes?
On one hand, it's commendable that Devin is willing to take on this fight, and Turkey acknowledges that of the American fighters he's had to work with, Devin seems more receptive to what Turkey suggests than some others. That is commendable. But on the other hand, it's not like Devin had much of a choice. If you weren't fighting Brian, who were you going to fight?
Can Devin win?
That depends on Brian. Brian has to charge him. He has to mow him down. He can't make the mistake of looking for a single punch to do Devin in. He's got to throw combinations. He's got to be busy. He's got to stay on him, throwing punches in bunches, with the understanding that Devin's not a knockout merchant. Devin doesn't knock people out, so maybe you have to take one to give two.
If you land, you'll do a lot more damage on him than he'll do on you.
You can't beat a boxer for this one, or the counterpuncher for this one, like you were with Jin Sasaki, to where you knew you don't have to find Jin. Jin will find you. With Devin, he's gonna play keep away as long as you let him, so you have to stop that.
You have to cut off the ring.
One of the most overused phrases in the sport of boxing right now, often said by those who don't even know what cutting off the ring is. If you ask them to explain it, they wouldn't be able to tell you. What is cutting off the ring?
That's what Brian's gotta do.
Move with Devin, parallel to him, then meet him in the corners. Make that beeline to where he will be, which is very different from just following him in a straight line, trying for punches. You mirror his movements, then make that subtle beeline as you approach the corners.
Two things you gotta get ready for from Devin: movement and clinching.
You gotta break those clinches or work in the clinch. Devin is a weak little bitch.
You have to get ready for Devin to either run from you as you close the distance or try to smother, try to hold.
Because what he won't do is engage you mid-range to inside. If he treated Jose like he was a hot potato, just imagine how he's gonna treat you. The mistake that Brian cannot afford to make is to look for a single shot to do Devin, to either look for a single shot or work off the counter. If you play that game, you're gonna lose a ho-hum points decision. You have to throw punches in bunches, be busy, and mow him down.
Cut off the ring!
And break the clinches. You are physically stronger than this weakling, than this wannabe.
Nothing would make my heart smile more than to watch Bill Haney get beside himself as his son is beaten from pillar to post. I want to see them lose.
The reason for it: the sport of boxing right now, particularly in the American boxing scene, it doesn't need more Mayweathers or Mayweather wannabes like Devin. It needs more Brian Normans. It needs more originals, fighters with their own identity that aren't trying to be someone else.
It needs action fighters, not chess players, not brainiacs. Boxing in America needs to be exciting again. And of these two, Brian is the exciting one. So I have a rooting interest in a Brian Norman win. I want him to stop Devin.
I want him to do to Devin what he did to Jin Sasaki, with the understanding that Devin does not afford you the same openings as a Jin Sasaki. You're gonna have to go out there and create them.
Devin is a bitch.
He will spend all 36 minutes of a 12-round fight running from you, then tell himself he put on a master class, even when people lambast him for it, because he fights like a coward.
A bitch.
You gotta stop this guy, Brian. You gotta do it. Bill Haney, in retaliation to Bob Arum's track star comment, said boxing had ESPN and the stage was set. The audience was there. Then Bob Arum blew it with stale in-house matchups, legendary fumble, ruined the momentum of an entire sport.
Is that accurate?
No, it's hyperbole. I mean, where were comments like this after the PBC was kicked off of NBC, subsequently kicked off of Fox, kicked off of Showtime? I would sooner say that about them than say that about Top Rank. What happened to Top Rank has more to do with ESPN as a platform.
Americans cutting the cord and moving away from conventional cable packages in favor of streaming. We've been over this a million times.
But so long as there are disingenuous individuals like Bill Haney, we will likely have to go over it a million more. That what happened to Top Rank on ESPN is bigger than boxing.
So what could they have done differently?
Well, my old college roommate, Marcos Villegas, had a few ideas. He said key things that led to where we're at with ESPN and no Top Rank boxing.
Wait, you went to college with Marcos?
No, that was bullshit. Fury not being able to fight in the United States, that's one. Stars leaving Top Rank, Crawford, Shakur, Berlanga, Haney, that's two. Loma's inactivity and retirement, that's three. Remaining roster lacked mainstream recognition, though good talented stable, That's 4.
But that's not really it, Marcos.
What happened on ESPN is the byproduct of a lot of things because it's not like boxing is the only thing they might lose. They're losing Major League Baseball. I believe they're also losing F1 racing, and that has everything to do with Americans' move away from conventional cable packages to streaming. ESPN was getting a piece.
How so?
They were getting a piece of all of those conventional cable packages, which in turn fortified their budget. But with so many Americans cutting the cord, ESPN doesn't have as much money as they used to acquire or keep all of those sports rights.
Why do you think they're losing the UFC?
The UFC are looking for a better deal, and ESPN, in a word, can't afford them. I don't even know that we can say that ESPN is still the biggest sports network in the country. I know that they used to be, but I'm not sure that that's true here and now. So when you think about Top Rank's situation on ESPN, it was actually bigger than them, than just them.
And what else?
Boxing as a sport has become a lot more fragmented than it used to be, and that resulted in fights that needed to happen but did not, like Lomachenko versus Mikey Garcia, which would have been between Top Rank and ESPN.
Lomachenko versus Davis.
Talking about Lomachenko in his prime, when he wasn't courting retirement, since Gervonta only took an interest in him when he saw that he might be retiring. The fight didn't happen when it needed to, and that hurt Showtime just as much as it hurt ESPN. Showtime ended up leaving first. Now ESPN might.
2 years later.
Spence versus Crawford, Terrence Crawford, that ESPN was heavily invested in to the point they guaranteed him in excess of $3 million a fight. But as a result of him being frozen out by the PBC staging a round robin with all of their welterweights in effect freezing him out, there was nothing Top Rank could have done about that.
So the fight between Terrence and Spence eventually happened, but without Top Rank and ESPN in the picture. By then, the damage was done. A fighter they were spending a lot of money on ended up going away, and there was nothing Top Rank could have done about that. You go over, what could Top Rank have done differently?
It's not a lot. Teofimo's giving you a hard time. Edgar Berlanga is giving you a hard time.
And boxing being as fragmented as it is affected everyone. It didn't just affect the PBC, it affected Top Rank too, because the boxing fans want to see these guys fight, irrespective of your network, irrespective of your politics. And when that doesn't happen enough, they go away. They start paying attention to something else because this is intended to be entertainment.
Some parties are a lot more responsible for boxing's fragmentation than some others, but that's the gist of it. Things didn't happen when they needed to. This was a lot bigger than Top Rank and anything they could do by themselves. So if the question is, what could Top Rank do differently? What could they have done? Not a lot. They did the best with what they had.
As best as they could.
Bill Haney is full of shit. He's just mad that Bob Arum called his son a track star, except that Bob's not the only one saying that. Everybody's been saying that since the Times Square show. You want him to stop? Tell Devin to stop running.
But he might get knocked out.
Well, that's what I want!
Stop yelling.